Today we're going to look at circumference of a circle. So firstly, a diameter. The diameter is the distance from one side to another of a circle through its centre. So if we've got a diagram of a circle here, the diameter is the distance all the way across the circle, making sure that we go through the centre, all the way across the circle. The radius, r, is the distance from the centre to the edge of the circle. So if we've got the centre of the circle here, and we've got the edge of the circle here, then the distance between those two is the radius. That's the radius along here, r. The circumference, c, is the perimeter of the circle. So it's the distance all the way around the outside edge of the circle. So the circumference is the distance all the way around the outside edge and back to the start. Pi is the ratio of the circumference to the diameter. You might have heard the word pi before. It is what's called an irrational number. That means it's a decimal that goes on for a very long period of time, but it doesn't repeat itself. It keeps going and going and going. And this particular number pi, you might have heard it approximated to 3.14, but it is in reality, it's a decimal that that doesn't repeat, but goes on forever and ever. It is infinitely non-repeating. So it's given this Greek symbol here that kind of looks like two lines with a wavy line on top of it. And it is the ratio of the circumference to the diameter. So there's a relationship between the diameter and the circumference. If we multiply the diameter by pi, we get the circumference. And that's what's meant by a ratio. It's the relationship between the circumference and the diameter. Now note, there's a relationship between the radius and diameter too. If we've got this side is one radius, and this side as well as the diameter is one radius. So if we've got two radii, one radius plus another radius, 2 times the radius, we get the diameter. So the diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. So that means that if we want the circumference, we can multiply the pi times 2r as well, because 2r is the same as d. So the two formula here we have for the circumference of a circle, the circumference equals pi multiplied by the diameter, or circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. So they're the relationships, those are the two relationships between the circumference and the diameter and the radius of a circle, and they both relate to this constant number. It's the same. It's approximately 3.14, but the exact number has many more decimal places. And they're related. The circumference and diameter and the circumference and radius are related to pi through that way. If we have a look at an example, find the circumference of these two circles, correct it to 2 decimal places. So looking at this first circle here, it's got a radius of 3.5 metres. So if we're trying to find the circumference of it, circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius, 2 times pi times 3.5 metres. If we put that into our calculator using the pi button on our calculator, which is a much more accurate value for pi than 3.14, it gives 21.9911, and it keeps going for a very long time. But we've only been asked to round it, correct to 2 decimal places. So if we look at the second decimal place here, 9, on the right hand side of it's a 1, so we don't have to round up at all. So the answer that we've got is 21.99 metres for the circumference all the way around the outside of that circle there. So the second circle we've got here has a diameter of 4 centimetres. You can see it's not the radius because it goes all the way through the centre and it goes from one side of the circle to the other. So that's the diameter of 4 centimetres. So C, the circumference, equals pi times the diameter. So that's pi times 4 centimetres in our case. So putting that into our calculator using the pi button, we get 12.56637, and it keeps going on and on and on. But we've been asked to round it to 2 decimal places. So we look at the second decimal place and have a look at the one next to it. Because the number next to it is greater, 5 or greater, we need to round this number up. We need to round it up to the next nearest decimal place, which is 7. So instead of 12.56, we'll have 12.57 centimetres.